Okay. All right, so we're recording. So today we're going to go over identity theft, how to protect yourself against identity theft. We're going to go over fraud. So you've probably seen maybe shows like that depict kind of fraud, like Catch Me If You Can, those kind of things. Um, this is how they do it. They kind of call it like white-collared crime. So you're actually not going out physically and stealing something, but you're stealing something, like taking money off the top or something like that. So we're going to go over that kind of stuff, how to protect yourself against that, and go over some other things. Okay, so here's the plan moving forward, okay? So you should have all of these things done. This week, you should finish up Lesson 12, Lesson 13. We're going over right now Lesson 14 and Lesson 15, okay? So next class period, it's just a real quick review. I may even just send out a recording because it's just going to be a review, okay? We're just going to go over kind of all the stuff that we've talked about, and that's it, okay? Pretty simple, okay? All right, any questions before we get into this? Talk about how you don't get your credit card stolen, huh? It's like happened to me like 5 times. But it's okay, because there's consumer protection kind of stuff there. We'll talk about that. Okay. Alright, so we're going to talk about how you can avoid identity theft and fraud, what's your responsibilities, what the credit card and other bank institutions, their responsibilities. With all these things going on right now with like different hacks, like they got the hacks and they're stealing personal information. A lot of people said they've stolen so much information, they're probably not going to use that information for like another 10 years. So you want to continually to watch your identity, and somebody possibly taking out like a credit card in your name or something like that, okay? All right. So it is our right to be safe, okay? It's our right to have safety, to be informed, to choose, to be heard. So the government has set up institutions where we can basically help ourselves, particularly if they take things away from us, right? So there's different agencies are like the FDA, you may have heard of that, the Food and Drug Administration. So they make sure that, like prescription drugs that you use are safe, different food doesn't have like E. coli, that kind of stuff. Consumer protection, so as you're buying things, you don't have like fraudulent websites that sell you stuff. Done that before too. The FTC, Federal Trade Commission. So basically when you're trading things back and forth. Better Business Bureau, different bureaus of protection and stuff. Okay, so these are a couple things you want to look for, especially when you have like credit unions or banks or something like that. Make sure they're certified, they have insurance, that kind of stuff. They'll back up your money and any things that happen like that. So here's some things that you need to look to protect, okay? Your social security numbers. You got to give that out quite a bit, but you don't want to like write it down or like text to somebody where somebody else could get it, right? Write it in an email. Not good, okay? Name, especially full name, address, date of birth, mother's maiden name, password, pins. Try to keep those in a safe spot so you don't get those all messed up, okay? So basically you kind of ask yourself, what is fraud? It's somebody that's basically trying to cheat consumers, or basically oh, you're all right. Not a big deal, you're late. Thanks for coming. You can watch the rest that we missed like on the recording, okay? So some fraud that that happens is somebody's deliberately trying to like steal something from you or get something so then they can take advantage of a situation, right? Okay. Ways to avoid it, they have like credit monitoring systems like LifeLock, or sometimes your insurance company sells things like that. Uh, Use passwords, pins that can't be guessed really easily. Antivirus things so people can't get in your phones. So kind of things like that. Protect your mailbox, protect your wallet, that sort of thing. Not using common passwords. Yeah, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not a good one. Most computer systems don't even let you put that in anymore, right? Because it's such a big issue. You notice like with phones today, they actually have fingerprint kind of things. I don't know if anybody has that. I have that like on my phone. Like I touch the back of it and that's how it opens. Yeah, or using the same password. I do that. Oh yeah, Face ID. Face ID's one of my computers has that too, like a Face ID. So yeah, so there's different things they're using right now to kind of protect these different things. You can also pretty easily like encrypt your computer and stuff. I've actually never done that, but I guess it's good to do. I don't have anything to steal, so I guess, what does it matter, right? Okay, so here's some just different scenarios that they kind of wanted to go through. We'll just do this first one. So Bethany purchased a new pair of shoes from the internet. What steps should she ensure to make sure her identity is protected while she's making purchases, right? So what are some things you can think of, right? If you're making a purchase online, what do you want to do? One thing that's kind of good is they're using, may have heard of PayPal, right? Okay. Make sure the website's safe. That's good. Like reputable, like Amazon's pretty reputable. Make sure the company's legit, that kind of thing. So a lot of people call me a lot of times, like sometimes if there's not like a phone number on the website. So for my driver's ed website that you guys sign up on if you want to do driver's ed, like some people call me and say, "Are you legit?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here in Utah." So it's people want to make sure it's safe and using kind of safe methods of payment, right? All right, so here's just some other ones, blah blah blah. But if you find something that's like purchased on your credit card, that's one thing about good thing about watching your bank account and look at everything single thing that's going on there, is because these thieves or whatever, where they're trying to do it, they'll actually just steal like $10 here, $30 here, and it gets booked in with all your things, and then you might have to go back and be like, wait, I didn't make this purchase, I didn't make this. Well, somebody had to have stole my card, right? So basically, there's a financial understanding. I'm trying to get here. Grace periods, late penalties. Oh well, it's probably on here, but I'm going to talk about it right now. So like, if you were to get your credit card stolen, which I have quite a few times, maybe I'm just not being very safe, but you have what's called a zero liability. So all I have to do is call the credit card company and say, hey, I didn't make that purchase, okay? And then they'll do an investigation into it, and they refund my money, and that I don't have to like worry about it, right? That's the credit card company's thing. That's their investigation they have to do too. Now, if you do like make payments with your debit card online, that comes directly out of your bank account. So you may want to look at using a credit card or a prepaid card. Prepaid card, you're probably going to lose the money, but I'd look at that kind of stuff and look at doing that. So somebody said, my mom had her credit card stolen by one of those tech scammers. Yep, because she clicked the pop-up and she called the number. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, you could use gift cards online too, so that's something that you could do, like the prepaid, that. So one of the things that's been going on a lot is I get phone calls all the time that say, we're doing Costco members. You get a $500 card. And so what they're actually doing is they're hacking people's phone numbers, calling so it looks like it's their phone number from like Utah or whatever, and then transferring them. They're looking to get at information, okay? So there's a lot of scams that go out there. And sorry if you're a KSL fan, but KSL Classifieds has a lot of scammers on there. Especially if you're trying to sell a car. It's like, hey, can I pay you over PayPal? You know, I'm going to have my friend pick up the car. Things like that, when they're saying stuff like that, they're saying stuff that's not, like, ordinary, right? You want to, or they'll say, hey, I'll pay over full price for something. You might want to be a little sketchy of what's going on, okay? Alright, so some people might try to say, hey, you got late fees, finance charges. They might mail you something in the mail that saying, hey, you're overdue on a payment, which you've never even made a payment or something like that. Okay. All right, we're gonna skip some of this. Okay, let's go to now scams and schemes. Okay. Does anybody know of a scam that's happened before that you've heard of? Somebody's running a scam or a scheme. Alright, so AJ does. Do you want to write it in, or do you want to like use your mic and tell us? Oh, fake IRS scam. Somebody said that. That's right. Share on mic. Okay, yeah, let's do that real quick. So I'm going to give you mic rights real quick. Okay, you should have those. So I'm going to quick talk, and so it's your turn.
So one scam that I heard of is someone pretending to be a person in trouble and asking for, say, $5,000 on a prepaid debit card to help get them out of trouble. Person sends the money, but they never hear back. In fact, I hear that if someone calls you asking for money on a prepaid debit card, that's a red flag that it is indeed a scam.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks, AJ, for sharing that. Yeah. So somebody, and they try to attack the elderly too, right? So my grandma, when this happened, she was like her late 80s. Now she's like 93. Can't believe she's still alive, honestly. Anyways, so somebody called her pretending to be my cousin and said they were in jail, and said, hey, Grandma, I need you to money order me through Western Union. You know, something like $1,000 or $1,500 so I can get out of jail, right? And so she's like, why don't you call your mom, you know? And luckily my aunt was there and was like, hey, you don't call back again, blah, 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 you know? So it's pretty crazy. So some other people are saying with things, smartphones are getting smarter, though, detecting possible scam calls. Yeah. As I said, I get that one all the time from Costco. If anyone ever asks you to use Bitcoin as payment for a scam, yeah, the Arabian Prince or whatever, I think. Okay, so that's another one. So they have this ransomware. I don't know if you heard of that before. That they'll come into your computer and they lock it up and say you have to pay me X amount of Bitcoin or I won't unlock your computer. It really does lock down your computer, and you might just have lost your stuff that's on your computer. But it's another scam that's kind of going on. So, oh, your best friend had ransomware? Oh, yeah. I had something like that, like pop up saying, oh, I can't remember what it said. I got an email saying, this isn't a joke, blah, 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 you better pay me this much. Oh, yeah, it's like, I'm going to tell I have compromising photos of you. I thought that was pretty funny. I have compromising photos of you, and you've got to pay me this much amount of money. And I'm like, delete? I'm like, yeah, whatever. Personal data, photos, because of it. Yeah. So unfortunately, that's happening quite a bit with like the ransomware, that kind of stuff. So getting like good stuff to like protect you from viruses, that kind of stuff's important, and running checks on your system and network needs to happen. Okay, so scams are fraudulent or deceptive schemes. Something you might be interesting to watch. All right, so somebody said I watched a video and people call people saying they're a Canadian Revenue Agency. Okay, you have to pay them a large amount of money at the moment, or you owe them, or they will sue you. Yeah, interesting. So so there's something called the Real Hustle. You can watch it on YouTube. It's it has these little scams that they do. It's based in the United Kingdom, where a lot of these scams actually happen. Um, but it's really interesting to watch some of the stuff they do. Some of the stuff they were using like something to hack into your phones and through Bluetooth, and then calling a number, and then that number's a number where they charge them money for every minute that they're on it. And so that was something that they try to do as well. So that's called the Real Hustle. Kind of interesting if you want to see a couple. I mean, they're really short, like 5 minutes or something like that, 10 minutes on YouTube. But it's an interesting kind of show. But they're just schemes that happen. There's some like pyramid schemes that people get you into like an organization to join, and you need to sell memberships, and then when you're at the top, everybody underneath you will basically pay the person at the top money. So somebody says, I get phone calls about credit cards and cars, but I don't have a car or credit card. Yeah, that's when you know. I get that all the time. It's like, your credit card has been, blah, blah, blah. Your past payment. Okay, you watch somebody on YouTube hack the scammer's computer and completely shut down all the computers in it. Nice. Nice. Okay, so there's also something called a Ponzi scheme, which is closely like a pyramid scheme, but the promoters generally have no products they're selling, and they just sell on recruiting new people, okay? And so it's kind of interesting. My mom had received a phone call about free stuff for personal information. Yeah, I would really look. If anybody's going to offer anything for free, I'd be a little skeptical of that too. So, for sure. Okay. All right. So that's a Ponzi scheme. You have also what's called an affinity scheme. Okay, so these are some things that you can look at. They usually target the elderly, ethnic groups, or religions. So people that don't, are kind of sweet talkers. I guess you kind of think about that way. Try to talk you into stuff, selling you stuff. This is more predatory on, as I said, like my grandma was kind of in this. Somebody was trying to get a scam for him. Predatory lending. Okay, so another thing is you're going off of people that really need money right now. So some of these payday loan places are not. I mean, some of them are legal, but some of them are really like going after people. Just saying, hey, what kind of stuff do you have? Well, I'll give you $50, loan at $50, and you have to pay me back X amount by now, or I get to take your collateral like Xbox or something like that, and they'll keep their Xbox or their car or something like that. So there's some pretty shady different lending organizations out there. Okay, so that's predatory lending, which I just talked about. Identify predatory lenders. So basically, like single premium insurance, right? So one thing I did is before I got into teaching, this was a long time ago, I used to sell insurance, and some people would go out and sell like insurance to somebody and give them all the documentation, but they really actually didn't have insurance, okay? And they would just take the money and then just bank it for themselves, but never give an insurance policy to the person. So that's something to look out for as well. charging excessive fees or rates, something like that. That's another fee or scam. So here's some different things about predatory mortgages. I'll let you go back and look at this if you'd like at the very end. All right, so somebody said, when my mom got scammed, they took like $400. They installed a free trial antivirus program. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so I'm worried about somebody like remoting into my computer sometime, right, and getting some of that stuff, because that's easily done now. You can just remote into computers if you get into a network. So, and then if you save your passwords through Chrome, or something like that, it's pretty easy to get in there. Common fees, you got advanced fee scheme, prizes that will cost you, right? Online auctions, fraudulent jobs, money-making scheme, bogus charities, scam schools. Okay. Yeah, I don't think you guys are in a scam school, but you could get into one. Okay, so some other things that people do. It's called skimming off the top. So you just take a little bit of money off the top of everything, so you can't see how much money. Spyware on a computer, dumpster diving for personal information, wiring, hacking, stealing. We've talked about a lot of these. Okay, shoulder surfing. So looking over somebody's shoulder for their password. All those things can be done. Okay, so stop strategies to be avoided. Just be proactive about it. Okay, so you might want to, when you start getting some money, you might really want to look at paying for like identity theft protection. Okay, that's somebody that monitors your credit, monitors like your activity. One thing that I have on some of my credit cards is that whenever a purchase is made, I get a notification to my phone saying that, hey, this purchase was made. Okay, so that's something that's really good, and then you can keep a good eye on it. Okay, so some other things that if you need to like dispute a transaction that was made like on your credit card or something like that, you can go to these resources, and that's it, guys. That's our lesson today. Any other scams or anything else you want to talk about? I am going to go to the very front of this real quick. And for those that came in a little bit later, just let you know. Okay, so if the IRS ever calls you, it's a scam. The IRS doesn't call you. Yeah, they don't really call you very much, ever. So you got to call them. Yep. Okay, so this week you want to get done lesson 12 and lesson 13. The quiz is there. As I said, what we just went over right now is lesson 14 and 15, and that's it. You have about 3 weeks to catch up. Your last day to turn everything in is going to be like the 8th of January. So that gives you a while to get things turned in. But I'll zero everything out in the class before the end of winter break, and then you guys just got to do it. Okay? So it's going to be pretty easy. So I'm going to stop the recording real quick, and then we can stick on and talk a little bit about other stuff.